Hello and welcome to Flagstaff TV. Today we are joined by Brad George, who is the CEO of Orosur Mining. Brad, thank you so much for joining us today.
Catherine, we meet again.
We do. Brad, now you seem to have raised what is a small amount of funds at a time where you already have cash in the bank. Can you explain the rationale behind this?
Yeah, there was some confusion, and I do apologise for not being able to explain earlier on. But I just got back into London from Africa, so this is my first Wi-Fi for a while. The rationale was a number of things related to our other projects, but it was largely driven by what we've been talking about over the last few months about getting the Ansar project back. Now, getting it back is a good thing. But the negative side, for want of a better word, is that once we get it back, we then become responsible for all the costs of holding the project, which to this point have been paid by MMA since 2018, and they're not insubstantial costs. You know, holding properties in Colombia is a reasonably expensive exercise compared to neighbouring countries. So while we have cash in the bank, we've got about 1.7 million in the bank. To then take on the cost of Colombia was substantial. We could afford it, but it raised two questions, I guess. You know, if we're not going to raise money now for Colombia, then that implies we're going to raise money later on. So that begs the question: well, when is later on? And you know, we've talked about the process in the last chat we had, and while I'm comfortable that process is going a lot faster than I would have hoped, I still can't promise how long it would take. So I am concerned that I'm hoping it's going to be quick, but I'm afraid it might be not quick. So there's an issue there. We want to just be a bit defensive. The other question is, well, what if we can't raise money then? The markets at the moment are not great. Louis Castro has just come back from the Indaba conference in Africa. The mood there was fairly somber. You know, raising money at the moment is a bit like pulling teeth. So we were a little bit concerned that we might then get the project back in the near term, and questions could be asked of, well, can you then fund the project? So we felt that it was just from a defensive point of view worthwhile raising a small amount of money, so minimal dilution, just to provide us with the funds to give ourselves comfort that we could hold the project, to give and to present that face to MMA. We are still negotiating, so we'd rather be negotiating from a position of some strength. And again, to present that to the government agencies in Colombia that we can fund it. And we're going to the PDAC conference in Toronto beginning of March. And we want to go to that conference, which is the biggest mining show in the world, A, with the project on the way back, and two, with the money in the bank to be able to manage it. So it's, in one sense, it's being just defensive, just making sure that we can deal with this, and two, presenting ourselves to the government, to our partners, and to the market in the strongest way that we can.
And on that basis, how is the process of returning to 100% ownership of ANZA going? I know that last time we spoke, you'd agreed on the terms, but we're assessing the transaction options.
It has progressed. I made the point last time that there were a few steps to go. The first step might, for example, be a letter of intent, and we move from there. So we're at that point now. We've finalised, or at least we have agreed on the terms, and that hasn't changed. The issue that we were dealing with last time is, well, what is the transaction? Do we just terminate the joint venture and go separate ways? And I mentioned last time, do we buy MMA? And that might seem a slightly off-piste option. And my normal rule of thumb when looking at transactions is you never buy companies, because you just don't know what might be bobbing around inside these things liabilities wise. So as a general rule, I don't like to do that unless I'm very comfortable that it's clean and that there's a good reason to do so. In this particular case, there are several good reasons to do so. One, for us to buy MMA is the fastest and easiest way to get this done. Unwinding contracts or entering new agreements takes time. To simply buy MMA, it's all done in the blink of an eye. So it's very fast. And MMA itself also has some things beyond ANZAR that might be of interest to us. MMA holds a few other applications in the ANZAR region that, while still applications and early stage, might be, a wrong trend. So there is some thought that we're giving that maybe that transaction is the best thing for all concerned. So we haven't done the DD, but we have to sort of, I guess it's safe to assume that these big companies are not cowboys, so they're not going to have too many things rattling around the company. So that's where we're looking at the moment. And I would like to think again that that's progressing reasonably quickly. As I mentioned, we're all going to be in Canada in a couple of weeks' time. Us, Agnico, Newmont will all be sitting there freezing our bums off in the Toronto winter. So that'll be a good time, I think, to get everyone around a table and just nut down the final details and move this forward.
Brad, finally for today, you were in the field in Nigeria last week. How are your projects there progressing?
Going well. I mean, I was down there as a CEO to sort of, go into the bush with the team and pretend to be involved. I mean, I don't tell the guys what to do, but it's always nice that I can point to the rock. Look, it's going well. We've finished the first phase on all the licenses, and I was just sitting down with the team there, both in the bush and in Abuja, just going through all the data, getting the final reports, and just seeing what does it mean. And that's always important when you're doing your first phase exploration. I mean, drilling's easy, drilling is drilling. But when you're doing your first phase, everything is very contextual. It depends upon, what is it, where is it, what does it mean in context. So you do need to sit down with the teams for quite some time and just say, well, what are you seeing? What does it mean? Why are these things here? What do we do next? So that's all completed first phase. We'll get in the final reports in the next couple of days. And that I would hope might lead to some announcements. And planning phase two. And phase two will be some soil sampling that will then drill us down to drill targeting for in a few months' time. So that will start reasonably soon. And elsewhere, we're also active. We've had the Argentinian geologists have just come back from El Pantano last week. So they've been not completing, but near completing the mapping and the ground mag of that project. Again, we're getting data and maps coming out of that. And that, again, was quite timely. As I mentioned with PDAC, that's a very attractive project for us, but it's also a very attractive project for other companies because of its scale, potential for huge, it's a huge project. So again, to go to PDAC with our little satchel full of goodies, Ansar in Colombia, money in the bank, and projects in Nigeria, projects in Argentina. So we're just trying to get everything sort of moving to that point on all the projects and the funding so that we can go to Toronto in a few weeks' time with a nice little bag of goodies.
Well, Brad, we look forward to hearing more with those announcements in due course. Thank you very much for your time today.
Anytime.
And thank you for watching Flagstaff TV.